This Fullmetal Alchemist deck is all about Roy Mustang. His powerful abilities let him KO cards at the cost of trashing your own. But is it good? Well, let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Mobby here, and today I'm going to be giving you my personal deck profile for this blue Fullmetal Alchemist deck. Make sure to like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel. I upload daily duels and deck profiles for different anime TCGs. Alright guys, here we go. These are the action points that I'm using. You can see here it features Roy Mustang. This whole deck is all about getting out your very powerful 5-cost Roy Mustangs in order to KO the board. You have a lot of really great support cards in the form of Riza, and of course these Alex Louis Armstrongs. Now if you guys just want the deck profile, pause the video, head on over to my website mobbytcg.com. There you can get deck profiles, proxies, and guides for how to play all of these decks. Alright, so let's talk about every single card, starting with our 0 cost. There are 2 raid cards in this deck, and Roy is the first one here. We are running 10 0 cost cards. The first card here is 0 cost Roy. No abilities. The trigger is add this card to your hand, 1500. Now because Roy is kind of like your win condition, you want to make sure you try to keep these safe at all costs. You mulligan for them, search for them, and raid on them when you can. Next, it's going to be Riza Mihawk. So this is 0 cost as well. The trigger here is 0 cost, no abilities. The trigger here is add this card to your hand. This deck's really nice and consistent. You really need your late game Rizas and your late game Roys. They work together in order to mitigate the damage you take in order to maximize the damage on your opponent's board. So it's really nice that both of these have the exact same trigger of adding it to your hand. It just gives you that much more consistency. So this is a nice 1500. The next card we're going to be using is Vato Fallman. He's a Briggs card, 0 cost. So on play, you draw one and you trash from your hand. Once again, really good. You want Rizas, you want Roys. You find both of them early, you find both of the raids, and that's all you need. You can remove a lot of other stuff. So this one allows you to, have a 0 cost so you can play the game early, but also fix up your hand so you can get the good stuff. The trigger here is draw, add this to your hand. It's a 1500. Now let's move over to our 1 cost. We have Riza Mihawk. This one is on play. Look at the top 2. Place any of them on top and the bottom of your deck. So even though this card doesn't give you a card right away, it allows you to set up in the future. Like, okay, I have a bunch of raid Roys in my hand, but I don't have any upcoming. This one allows you to be, okay, there's one coming up. I'll set it on top and don't worry about it. That sort of thing. So it's a really powerful card. This is a decent attacker for 1 cost, but really the ability is you want to support and set up your future turns. The trigger here is going to be drawing 1 card. Starting 4 of these. Your other ones are going to be these Maria Rosses. This is also a 1 cost. So on play, you bounce back a 1 or less. Otherwise, you return this. The benefit of that is you are going to be getting 2 energy with this. This card is in the deck because you really want to get to 5 energy as soon as possible, because those are your late game Roys and Louis Armstrongs. Is it Louis Armstrong? What the heck is his name? Yeah, Louis Armstrong, Alex, your late game Alexes. But basically, the best ones to bounce back are going to be these Risas to use the ability again. But make sure you always have a Risa so you can, you can raid on them, or these Vatos so you can draw 1 and trash 1 again. So we're running a couple of these Marias. Now moving over to your 2 costs, this is a Roy Mustang, another great contender to raid on. 2 costs. On play, choose up to one of your opponent's front lines, 1500 or more, and it gets a negative 1000 BP. Usually this wouldn't matter, but because this deck is all about KOing, this is extremely powerful. It allows you to use up less resources, which we'll talk about once we hit the final card of the deck, the final Roy raid card. This one has no trigger, but in turn it will have 3000 power, so it's a pretty good card to put on the front line. It's really good to combo with your 5 cost Roy, but if you have to throw this out to get some early damage, I would recommend doing so because it's pretty good stats for the cost. So only 4 of these Roys. Now we have another Riza. I'm gonna call her Riza. So 3 costs on play. If there's a Roy drawing card, really powerful. As mentioned, you're gonna be trashing cards to KO characters, and just drawing more cards allows you to, have more options and trash instead. So this is 2500, and it has 2 energy. This card's primarily gonna stay in the back line until you need to raid on this character. Now we have your 4 color cards of the deck. These are Mai's Hues, 3 costs. So once this is on the field, you can activate main and trash 1. This character gains 1000 BP during this turn. It doesn't say once per turn, so if you need to go down to 0 cards, and there are reasons to do so, if this is on the front line, you can do that. Or if it's on the back line, you can still discard to get the abilities of having 0 cards in your hand. Then when this character is sidelined, if you have 2 or less cards, you get to draw 1 card. It's a really nice support card. It's usually going to stay in the back line unless you really need to get this to the front line and do some damage by discarding some cards. The trigger here is bounce back a frontline 3500 or less. It has 2 energy. Best case scenario, Mei's in the back and Riza's in the back. These ones will be rated on. These ones are your pinch scenarios and when you need to use some of its abilities. Alright, time for your 4 finals of the deck. This is the State Alchemist card. So when you activate it, choose 2 of your APs, switch them to active, giving you more actions to play for that turn. The trigger here is final. If this is the last card and when it's triggered, you get to heal 1. Alright, let's move over to our 4 costs, starting with this Roy Mustang right here. So this one has 4000 power, and during your turn, if you have 2 or less cards in your hand, this character gets 1000 BP. This is one of the first cards we're seeing where, yeah, actually having, less cards gives you benefits here. Then when attacking, if you have 0 cards, you draw 1 card. Now it doesn't really make a lot of sense to discard just to draw back up. But once you see the 5 cost Roy, it'll make a lot of sense why, yeah, you go down to 0, then you attack with this to redraw up again. The trigger here is activate a character and give it 3000 BP in order to block out some stuff. 4000 power. So it's a pretty nice and solid card. However, we are only running 2 of them because it's more important that you get out a lot of these other 4 costs out. Next card is going to be this raid cost Riza Hawkeye, which raids only on the Rizas. So on play, choose an opponent's front line, 1500 or more. It gets negative 1000. Then look at the top 4 cards, grab one of them to put on top, and the rest go to the bottom. So this is just a much more stronger version of these other Rizas that allow you to. Where's the other one? Yeah, these ones. No, where's the other one? There's the blah 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 blah. Where is it? This one. Yeah, this one. So this is just a stronger version, obviously. Does the same thing. Okay, so yeah, on the top, you obviously want to get more Raid Rizas. You want 2 Roy Mustangs. Honestly, the best case scenario is probably 2 Rizas and 2 Hawkeyes. 2 Rizas and 2 of your 5-drop Raid Roys on the front line at the end of the game. That's the best. Okay, then main frontline once per turn. Choose a frontline character with 1500 and minus 1000. So you get the minus 1000 on the turn you play it, and the same turn you can still do another one. So you can do 2, you can minus 2000 on 1 character or split them up. The trigger here is raid. Add this or raid if you can. It's a 4 cost, pretty cheap. It's a great character even if you're not making use of the first ability. The fact that you're fixing up the top of your deck and that turn and in the future you can go ahead and lower some costs. This card is really good. All right, time for your 4 final 4 specials of the deck. This is Flame Alchemist. Choose 1 character in your opponent's frontline, 3000, and KO it. However, if you have a Roy frontline or sideline, frontline or energy line, it's 5000 or less. The trigger here is special, KO a frontline character. All right, now let's talk about these 5 costs. The first one is going to be this 5 costs with 2 actions, Alex, Louis, Armstrong. This has 2 damage, then once per turn. When this character attacks and wins a battle, you get to draw 2 cards. This character's trigger is active 3000 somebody, and it has a level of 4500. This is an extremely powerful card for the deck. As mentioned, you want nothing but to get your Roy Mustangs out. But if you're struggling to do so, you haven't found any, maybe you got to 5 early, this is an extremely powerful card to put on the board. First of all, yeah, it costs 2 AP. Once you throw it out, it will be rested and you won't be able to attack. However, during your opponent's turn, it's going to be 4500. You'll most likely be able to block an attack out of it. And if they end up KOing it with something, then they're taking away resources to KO your more important card, which is the other 5-drop Roy Mustang. And this is 2 damage. If you win, you get to draw 2 cards. So this character is all around good. You only want a couple in your deck. You don't want to run 4 because you might brick yourself. I'm running 3 because I just want to see how these do in the battles. I think they're really cool. By the way, if you end up with somehow 2 in the front line, you have a lot of defensive power here. So this is a crazy strong card. Now let's talk about the MVP of the deck. This is what you're working towards. Roy Mustang, 5 cost, 1 action. Raids on Roys. If you have 0 cards, this character gains impact. You usually want to go down to 0 when you're trying to end the game with impact. And remember, you can easily make your character go to 0 cost with these maze hues in the back line. Because it's activate, main, discard. You don't have to have it on the front line or back line. But if you're going for a game, you might as well throw them on the front line and do some major damage with it, right? But basically trash your whole hand doing so if you need that impact. Otherwise, you get to do the rest of this. On play, you get to draw 1 card, and this is the most important thing here. So when attacking, you get to place any number of cards that you have in the front line to the outside area, which works again with the ability, so you don't have to use the maze. You can use this instead. So place any number of your hand to the sideline, choose 1 character on your opponent's front line with 1,000 or less. Now, this is super important. You can choose up to 0, but then you still get to choose a 1,000 or less. Remember that, you can do that. You cannot throw anything out and still affect a 1,000. And then you sideline it or retire it. For each card that you have placed, however, you will increase the range by 1,000. So pretty much if you trash 1 card when attacking, you can KO a 2,000 character according to the wording here. If you trash 0, you can KO a 1,000. If you trash like 2 or 3, you can KO increments of 1,000 plus. And that's why this character is extremely powerful with your Rizas. Every single turn, your Riza is going to be lowering, lowering, lowering. And then you can, trash less cards to do so. The other effect here is when you do actually, sideline a character, you can also trash another card, and then you move that character to the removal area instead. Now, there are very small scenarios which you want to put it to the removal. Your opponent might have to, they might be able to revive stuff from the trash. They might have to have a lot of cards in the trash in order to activate abilities. So this will directly help counteract that. Extremely powerful card because it is a when attacking ability. Means if this is free on the board, you're going to be able to KO something really strong every single turn. A trigger here is going to be add this or raid if you can. Alright guys, so that is the deck. It's all about Roy Mustang with these nice powerful cards and a lot of help from Riza. Honestly, you really need Rizas in order to make your Roy Mustang shine, which, very fitting, right? So let me know what you guys think about this. Link down below, and of course on the channel if you want to see all of the duels that we have covering this deck and more. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And of course, all of the deck profiles will be on the website if you guys want to see it. Thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye.